Hi, welcome to Bar Cart Bookshelf, a video series about books and the drinks they inspire. My name is Elias, and today we're looking at She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. Now, before we get started, I do want to note that for the time being, we have traded the bar cart for a bookshelf as the channel enters a peripatetic phase. Gonna be wandering around for a little bit, but with the right tools and a great book, we'll be able to make wonderful drinks no matter where I am. So, without any further ado, why don't we turn to this week's read, She Who Became the Sun. She Who Became the Sun is a retelling of 15th century Chinese history through the lens of Zhu Chongba, the founding emperor of the Ming Dynasty. Of course, the Zhu Chongba in Parker Chan's novel is not entirely the historical figure that exists in our world. Rather, this Zhu Chongba is the unnamed sister of the original, who dies early in the novel, having been promised a destiny of greatness. And this tenacious little girl decides to take on her brother's name and entire identity, to trick heaven into being and believing that she is he, that she is Zhu Chongba. And so there's this interweaving of the historical and the fantastical through the mandate of heaven, and there's this wonderful exploration of gender and identity and how it is to build a self through both Zhu Chongba and through the Mongolian general Wu Yang, against whom Zhu Chongba struggles for much of the novel. And so I wanted this week's drink to play with similar sorts of ideas, of surprises, of expecting one thing and discovering over the course of the experience that you've actually got something entirely different. And with that in mind, why don't we turn to our mocktail. Going to be non-alcoholic this week, so really accessible for anyone. And without any further ado, let's look at this week's drink, the Warrior Monk. Zhu Chongba, upon escaping the village where he grew up, arrives at a Buddhist monastery and is enrolled as a monk there, but then leaves the monastery and joins the Red Turban Rebellion and enters this phase where Zhu is really coming into his own and takes on the identity of this warrior monk. And so our mocktail pays homage to that part of the journey and the ways in which it's really surprising how she sort of follows through on that path. Our base is going to be Lapsang Souchong tea, really dark and smoky. This sort of idea of being Zhu Chongba as almost like a smokescreen to heaven, to sort of trick the divine forces that promise destiny into believing that she is Zhu Chongba, actually. And we're going to get 2 ounces of that tea in there. You want to brew it extra strong because you really want that smokiness to come through. Really nice dark flavors, tea, but most noticeably a rich smokiness. And then to sort of add to the depth of flavor, but add a bit of sweetness, I've got a molasses syrup, just equal parts molasses and water to make it a little easier to pour. We're going to get a half an ounce of that in there. It's going to add more depth of flavor, more darkness. You could use, if you wanted, a sorghum syrup. It would be a little bit different, but sort of similar. And we've got a half ounce of that in there just to sweeten things up a little bit. We do have an extra bitter tea, so you don't mind if things are just a touch sweeter. And then I'm going to add a 1/4 ounce of this really wonderful ginger syrup, the Pratt Standard True Ginger. It's a nice fiery ginger. It's going to bring some heat It's really intense, so you only need to use just a little bit, and it'll still come through no matter what. Just really a shift in what our flavor dynamics are going to be as we sip on our mocktail. And finally, we've got something that might be a bit of a surprise. It's apple cider vinegar. We're going to get another 1/4 ounce of that in there too. It's just going to add another bit of tang, another bit of brightness, and another surprising element that isn't necessarily going to come through when you first smell the drink, but as you sip it, you're going to get a bit of brightness there. So we have this interplay over the course of the mocktail of the sort of smoky darkness on the initial nose, the smell of it, that cuts through to the sort of lightning bright, the fiery sun-like ginger and vinegar in there. And then we'll get our ice into the mixing glass. As always, we're adding our ice last because that's going to be diluting the cocktail as soon as it gets in there. And we're going to give that a nice stir for about 20 seconds. Just get those flavors to marry. You can smell the smokiness of the tea. You get just a little bit of the ginger here, and very good. That looks great. And then with our julep strainer, I'm going to get that in there and strain into our cup. I like this little teacup here for a couple of reasons. One, I think it looks great next to the book cover, a nice golden option, but also I like that it's something that's going to be opaque, that it adds to this element of subterfuge and of surprise. And so you really get to keep that element preserved until the moment that you drink. And you smell the smoke, and then you have the taste. And it's just very dark and bright and sort of chiaroscuro, surprising and different and fun, just like I found the book to be. And so I am really pleased with how this one turned out. I hope you all try it. Definitely read the book. I had a wonderful time with it. I can't wait to see the second half of the duology, hopefully in the next year or so. And until then, the recipe will be available on Twitter and Instagram. And try the drink. Let me know what you think. Remember to like and subscribe. And until next time, cheers.